Praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, may his peace and blessings be sealed upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the one who fought tooth and nail for Islam to get to every corner of the world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy unto him and whoever is to follow his footsteps till the day of judgment. Allahumma Ameen. I have one simple question, and I'm expecting an answer from 3 ladies and from 3 guys. I want a reaction on this statement. Polygamy is a blessing to ladies and a burden to guys. Polygamy eyamba nnyo abakyala okusi ate ne tabbu njereere eri ggwe. Okay, that's the statement. Do we have any 3 people this side over this side ba reacting? Ate njagalamu n'abakambwe kambwe. Njagalayo, if you're here nga you're no pass zone for polygamy, bambi yogerako to your side. The same applies with you, Tutandike seka safika. Yes. Basatu side. Shirik. Muntu ngala bisinga natandise dda. Okay. I want to give a background to polygamy itself, actually to marriage, before even we get to polygamy. The Islamic approach when it comes to marriage, a human being was never created to be alone. I want to certify you, if you ever feel okay when you're being alone in your whole life, at your comfort zone without getting a partner, that alone degrades you from being a human being. You're something else. The way the Arabs say a human being is called al-insan li-unsihi. What makes us human being is because everyone enjoys the presence of another human being. It might be your parent, it might be your relative, it might be your friend, it might be anyone, but so long as you're with someone. And if you're a good student of history, you very well know that the reason as to why the prisons were invented, it's because the highest level of punishing you is to seclude you from the masses. And even when you're in the prison and you disobey some orders, they take you to a cell where you're going to be alone. Because in nature, that alone is enough to punish you. We were created to relate. For now, you have to relate with someone, maybe with someone. So the approach is the fact that you will not continuously live with your mother, you will not continuously live with your father, just like you will not continuously live with your brother, because by default, if you're normal, you're going to get at a point where you will need a stranger to satisfy you in regards with your demands. That's what I mean. In that line, Islam came to bring bounds, foundation of marriage, such that these 2 people come to connect together to form a family, to get to the fact that they really have to enjoy. And that's why in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was like, لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. The reason as to why she is in your life, to make sure whenever you think of peace, you lean against her. And that means whenever you're with the guy, the reason as to why this guy is created, you remember yesterday, for you to rely onto them. So the only way to get to that is when a couple comes together and they get married. So now, before I even start polygamy, these are the facts, a preamble. No one is allowed to force anyone to stay in an unhappy relationship. That's a principle in Islam. A lady, irrespective of gender, lady or a guy, Islam has never forced anyone to stay in a very disturbing relationship. There is a door of you getting out of it, just like you put your leg into it. That's a fact. In other words, if you ever get to this toxic relationship with someone, Islam never stopped you from running away from it. It's still open. Just like you went there, you can also leave. Secondly, no woman is denied the right to divorce if she finds polygamy unacceptable. If you ever get the news from your husband, he's bringing another wife, and your mother even gave you guidelines, my daughter, if you ever get to polygamy, you still have a bed here at your home. Just come back. Islam is like, you're not breaking any laws if at all that is unacceptable unto you. Am I making a point? Yes. It's never there. Never use Islam to make sure this lady is staying in this polygamous family if at all she's finding it disturbing and unacceptable. Thirdly, polygamy is a right and not a mandatory taking. It is permissible, accepted, but it's not obliged and compulsory onto us. Kategereke sako. Now, I want you guys to give me your attention. Islam, if you're a historian, you know, way back there wasn't any limit for a man when it came to marrying a lady. That's why those who are not Muslims, and even those who are Muslims, you very well know in Jahiliyyah, it was very possible for a guy, a man, to marry more than 100, or maybe to marry more than 20, and it was fine. So polygamy is not something Islam is bringing to the table. Islam just came to regulate and limit the numbers of you marrying, but not to bring polygamy in place. Am I making a point? Because way back, Baba wasanga just like other people. Bakuwasabu wasawo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no bivanako. Ngoli waga. 20th wife. And right now they are still there. People are still marrying 10 ladies, 15. True or false? In West Africa, do we have a West African here? Yeah, people are busy marrying that. We even have Muslims who are not contented with 4. They officially marry 4, and they find ways of having the 5th, 6th behind closed doors. So, of course, polygamy is not something new that Islam is putting on the table. Islam just came to just limit and regulate the way it was being conducted. Yeah? That's why Islamic law just arranged polygamy by restricting it with conditions of justice and ability. Yeah, before Islam, these were not conditions. Nothing like justice and nothing like ability. Just because a guy is putting on a trouser and a shirt and okay, go on and marry. But Islam came to limit and restrict a little bit. It's beyond your trouser, it's beyond your manpower, it's even beyond your money. You can actually have the ability biologically, you know what I mean? Biologically. You might have the ability biologically, but not having the ability psychologically. Just like you might be having the ability psychologically, and you don't have the ability financially. So these are all factors to consider. And it only comes with Islam. Yeah? That's also a fact. And just like the Sheikh had recited a verse here, Allah permitted you to marry twice, 2 ladies, 3 ladies, 4 ladies only, in capital letters, only, you don't exceed. And if at all you feel like you're not going to be just, you don't have the ability to be just, and so on and so forth, we are like, okay, stick with your only one wife. It's not a sin if at all you don't have the ability to facilitate the four wives. I want to justify polygamy now. As I was now. I was saying, polygamy happens to be a burden to men and a blessing to the ladies. And these are the reasons. The burden bit of it comes with responsibility. That's why it's burdenful to them. And the blessing bit of it comes with the favors you get when you switch to polygamy. My sister Kauthara, Assalamu alaikum. Justification for polygamy. This is a fact. Argue with your keyboard. I want you to welcome this knowledge, not being biased from any background. I'm not saying that I'm here to train every guy here to marry more than one. Just like I'm not here to encourage every sister here to go into polygamy. Islam is too moderate to guide appropriately. There is a lady that is not supposed to be into polygamy, just like there is a guy who is not supposed to get into polygamy. Factor number 1, have you at one point addressed the gender numerical imbalance due to birth rates? How many ladies are here right now? Approximately. How many are you? Is the number here the same as the number here? Do you know what that means? Medically, the birth rate of females is high as compared to the birth rate of boys. And that's a fact. Secondly, the death risk for men. If we are to balance now, and we are like, between men and women, what gender is having the highest risk of dying early? Men or women? Do you know what that means? It means the number of men is going to keep being down and your number is going to be up. Reason being, you're at home, when you hear a bomb, your role is not to go and check. Your role is to close the door. And his role is to get out to check what's wrong, to protect you. So he might even die. Is it a fact or not? I'm talking about men, not boys. The death risk for men is very high because whatever we do exposes us to danger. You're ready to do whatever you're doing to make sure your people are having something to eat without even considering how risky is it. Do we have men who are really engaging themselves into very, very highly risky jobs just because of some income they do earn? How many ladies have you found bricklaying proudly Muslim as bricklaying? How many of them? They're just few. We don't even encourage you to go in for that. But if you come with your power, we are going to go on and bricklay, even when, to the extent of even digging a pit latrine. Have you seen any woman going in for that? Do you know what that means? to dig many inches down there with the possibility of dying there down without even giving us burden. But you still go in for that. That means the number of men will always be down as compared to the number of female ladies. Are we together? There is the problem of homosexuality. Out of all these men now, you also have a burden of sieving. There are those useless men that do think they are women. So obviously, they are off. You can't think of them as married, as spouses. True or false? They are there. So the number of men already is down. The same number that is down, we have these people who are sick mentally, thinking they are females. Do you get the point now? It keeps on getting down. And that's where the justification comes from. So we have three options. Considering all those facts, and we all agree the number of women is high as compared to the number of men. In whatever you've mentioned, I do have three options. Be my guest in answering them. Option number one, with the fact that men are many and men are few and ladies are many, if we are to try out the one man, one woman story, is every lady going to get married? A disclaimer, in Islam, you're not allowed to play biologically. You know what I mean, eh? You're not allowed to play biologically, consummation, not until you're married. Even when you're 40, you don't have any justification to give. We don't have that. Whoever wants to enjoy biology, you only have one route: getting married to someone. I think it's clear now. I'm just simply calling off now the questions that are going to come. But I know you're here, you're not married, but you do whatever married people are doing. Your class is just beyond ordinary. We are discussing now someone who is not at that level of Buze. You get my point? The first option is, if we are to try the one man, one woman story, are all these ladies going to get married? Is your sister going to get married? Where is the guarantee? Let's just try right now. Choose one. Many ladies here are going to stay single. So the question is, what are they going to do? Do you get the point now? So that means that option will never work for us. The one man, one woman story will not work for us because it doesn't make sense. If I'm having a wife, Shafiq is also having a wife, and everyone is having a wife, there is a very big number of ladies there that is not having any husband. So that means the one man, one woman story will not work for us. Secondly, what if we try the one man, one official woman, and others being dealt with illegally? That means this husband of yours, Bubu, marries you alone. You're even at home. The same Bubu of yours is having another mistress outside marriage, and they are busy sleeping with them. What would you choose of the two? Would you choose to be a mistress, or you would choose to be a wife legally? Sorry? A wife, eh? Why don't you choose to be a mistress? Because when you choose to be a mistress, it basically means you have no right to claim anything. Even when you have kids, if at all there is no legal attachment with this husband of yours, those kids are yours in Islamic law. Even when you need medical bills, it's not his obligation to meet them just because you're a mistress. But if you're a wife, even when you're barren and you don't give birth, it's his role to take good care of you, even without a kid. Do you get the difference now? So I don't think my sister here would check out being a mistress. Would you even think of being in that kind of marriage where your husband is going to have you legally, and the same husband of yours is busy now having many girls behind closed doors? You have co-wives that are not even official. They know you, you don't know them. You know what that means? So can that also work? Can we sit down and we are like, okay, let us agree, these ladies, they hate polygamy, but it is okay. You marry her alone, but you have an acceptance. If you want to enjoy someone else, just go to them. Don't marry them, just enjoy them. Do you know, I'm an Islamic law consultant, do you know how many? Your husband dies. You've spent 20 years in marriage. You're his wife. You have no clue that there are other kids and you're not the mother. Is it happening or not? These people are busy having kids with other ladies. But just because there is this stigma, little did you know that you have your other 3-4 others and the kids. Who would like to be in that drama? So of course we can't go for that option. It can't work also. We can't go for one man, one official woman, and others are just played with. You get the point, eh? So you can't go for that. It doesn't even make sense. Check out the sweet Islamic approach. One man, more than one lady or wife, with a limitation of 4, but enjoying the same legal rights. What would you go with out of the 3 options? The last one. Because the Islamic approach is, it's okay, you can marry more than one, but the fact that you're a wife to someone, that means you're going to legally enjoy equal rights with the first, third, and fourth, just in case you're the third. You get the point? And that's the Islamic approach. Of the 3 options, what option makes sense? Of course, the last one. I don't expect you to just unlogically think that in I don't want to know oba wasabani, oba he is sleeping with who, so long as I'm alone. You're too selfish. Because you have enemies that you don't know and they know you. The least you can do is, at least, I'm not training you to love polygamy. I know you're created not to love it, which is very okay. But the reason as to why I'm here, I want to justify it for us to know. It's not your game to play in your favor as you're stressing your wives, just like it's not your game to play to also try to think that Islam is doing injustice to you. I think I'm making sense. And of course you will go in for that. This is some other, before I go to the other justification point. Just imagine, you're married to a husband and you're 23. These border accidents, these lightnings that are here, accidents are just too much. At 24 or maybe at 26, you're having your 2 kids and your husband dies. You're now a widow, isn't it? At 20? 26. A widow who is 26 with 2 kids. I just want one volunteer here who has never married anyone to come here. Just one. Surak, come. We have that unfortunate group, and that's the reality. Is it possible or not? It's very possible to become a widow at 27. Even when you become a widow at 35, you still need conjugal rights because you're still young. True or false? And remember, the door of fornication is closed in Islam. We don't have something like come and we enjoy, you go back. So the only way you have is marriage. And the innocent Surak, a very young, handsome guy, is not ready to take you as a first wife. So what options are you having? Second, third, and fourth. Because if you get to a guy who is already having a family, it's very easy for that man who is responsible to understand you. Actually be a father to your kids, because probably he has ever been a father somewhere. And it's going to be very hard for a young man just done with campus. Every man's proud is to be a father, for a lady to make them fathers firsthand, not to father someone's boy or kid. So that means the Islamic stand is, if we have that unfortunate group, we really have to address it, because Taina Chakoze, she never killed the husband. So what's the problem with this lady also going in with another marriage? Islam is like, it's fine. You can still be a second wife, third wife, or fourth wife. Is it clear now? We also have the second unfortunate group. Are you even aware that it's possible for a lady to get to 30, 35 without no one proposing to them? Is it possible? Muriwa, no. It's very possible. Let me give it to you straight. The reason as to why we don't take alcohol, Allah expects us to use our brains a lot. We are the group that is supposed to inspire any other group when it comes to being intelligent and clever. When a lady is growing, she is powerful, too beautiful, and relevant in her early age. When she's 20, by default, there is a group of men that deserves her. When she gets to 25, by default, she has obviously called off many of men. True or false? Just by default. Because in nature, every woman looks up and you look down. Because you're going to be a leader. The last thing you need is to marry someone who is above you. How are you going to exercise your leadership? So every man will always look to a lady who is underage, and you will always lead to a man. Go for a man who is overage. Kugwe, of course, not much, because you're selecting a leader, you're selecting someone who you're going to rely on. Of course, no, it doesn't make sense. So if that is a reality, it basically means when this lady is growing 30, 35, by default, it is very possible to get to 35 without no man proposing to them. It's very possible. It depends on where you are growing up from. It depends on the way you relate with others, on very many factors. Or maybe they think you're married because of the way you look, you're too responsible. So everyone is like, oh, she can't be like that when she's single. Probably someone is financing it. No, Kulan, not 21, not 22. And then you're given a chance to introduce yourself in your class. And you're saying you're married. You're calling off very many men. The moment you say you're married. The Islamic position is one other guy here, who is a 25-year-old guy, a fresh graduate, that is ready to marry a 35-year-old girl who is ready. Come here, you talk to us. Do you get the point now? So I want you to relate now. If we have the fact that the men, the gents, batono, they are few in number, and actually even that number that is few, The responsible men are few. Even out of those responsible men, we also have gays. You're looking for a responsible man. They are the few in number. And of course, if we add on another condition of responsibility, they just get on getting down. Not every man that is here is responsible. Wallahi, I want to assure you. And the reason as to why they have not yet married you, it's because they fear responsibility. Do you understand the point now? So Islam takufiriza no bufumbo ne yefira mangu awo. You can go as a second, third, fourth, or you can't go for the fifth. You get the point now. That unfortunate group really has to be addressed. Islam is not selfish. Don't even try to say that Islam is really killing women's rights. But how dare Islam accepts polygamy? Come on. You only have guts to complain because you have someone as your husband. You've not had a conversation with a 40-year-old lady, Muslimah, rich, beautiful, but without no one to marry them. Atenga simorogo. And by default, the chances of going as number one is very low. They just have to go as 2, 3, or 4. True or false? The other unfortunate group, we have the barren. How many of you are going to give birth? Wanika kumukono, nga you're sure, wallahi I will give birth to Musaga. We give you the Quran, you swear. Do you have any medic that can give you guarantee after doing whatever checkups on you? Nakuwa guarantee that is 100% authentic that you're going to give birth? Is it there? It's not. But we have a lady who is married to a guy, and that's when she's realizing she's barren. I need one guy to come here. I have a question. Any guy? Asuraka ya zedda. Okay. If you marry a barren lady, you get to know, you're too young, you're 25, 27. You hungrily need a kid because after marriage, everyone looks up to Muzaladdi, isn't it? You get to realize that this innocent, beautiful Muslimah happens to be a barren. What would you do?
I get another one.
What do you do with her?
I remain with her.
Exactly, and that's polygamy. Islam refused us to put them back home, reason being they are barren. What are you pinning her for? Do you get the point now? Are you seeing the relevance of getting to the second one or maybe third and fourth? That is it. So before you get to pin Islam for such, at one point you have to think about that. Islam came as a very moderate, complete way of life, moderately, to address such stuff in a way that is not stressing any other gender, respectively. That's why I called for your undivided attention, because I know that what I'm discussing, you even might be here and you're a product of a very bad polygamous family background. But of course, we are going to address that. But at least for the start, do you now see where polygamy comes in? And actually, the beauty of Islam is, Islam respected a lady to the level that even when you feel interest in another lady, the option is not divorcing the first wife. The option is keep that respect for her. Zungire walala naye nga asigadde mukyala mufumbo. If Islam had an aim of disrespecting you, it would directly order them that please, if you ever feel interest from another lady, just divorce the first one and marry another lady. But unauthentic tradition, Prophet denied us. It's haram for a man to ever divorce a lady with the cardinal reason of marrying another lady. Even when you're planning to marry a lady and she's giving you a condition that me to come to you, you have to divorce the first one, that alone is a red flag. Muleke, mubitibwa, nonya abalala. Because you won't go for haram. Another example. Do you know how many ladies today are giving birth by Caesar? Do you know how many? Dr. Kauthara, are they many or not? There are many. Very many. For various reasons. You don't do any gym, you don't do any exercise for 25 years. You're just there, eating, sleeping. Even when you're pregnant, you're eating and sleeping. And the technology is there. Even the hospital you want to go to, it wants some money. So the least they can do is to just try there. Can she give birth or she can't give birth? The only option is Caesar. Caesar means musajjagwe atanamanya, operating a lady as they are giving birth. And you know what comes with that? She can only get operated today, and the doctors normally advise, please, for your wife to be healthy, try out not impregnating her for at least 2 years. Is it a fact or not? That's a fact. And if at all you disobey the doctor's guidance, it's okay. She can also get pregnant, but there is a point of doctors now sitting down and telling this lady that, please, we operated you on your firstborn, your secondborn, your thirdborn, your fourthborn. If you ever get pregnant again, you're just going to die. True or false? You might be the one. And then you're having this husband of yours who is traditional. His father is having 40 kids. 40 kids. This is a traditional man that is having this father, and always the father is letting him know, my son, don't let me down. You have to copy me. Give birth when you're still young, so that you grow old with your kids and you're handling them. How is he going to do that? Do you want him to go outside? You don't. Islam even respected you to a level. Tewe stressinga muleke nebizibu binabaana be. Zara ya baba bano bosobodde akwerekere. Azungire wala anonyako abachi abalala. Are you getting the point now? And it is very possible. There are very many victims that are there. But now you find that's why fornication is just too much today. They keep saying, we don't know why, but there is a way married people are doing fornication. You're there single, but the married people are busy. Adultery is just too much with the married. Because this husband now is having this wife, she even told him, if you dare think of marrying another one, it is the end of me and you. So the only option of this cowardly husband of yours is to go and sleep with other ladies in secret. Boom. After him dying, that's when you know that there are your other co-wives and the closest friends were also witnesses. Is it true or not? Do you see now the justification of polygamy? The problem is not polygamy itself. The problem is with the players. And if you get to the man's sexual arousal and strength compared to that of a woman. How am I going to explain this without being vulgar? I have a reputation to keep. Okay. I'm going to use the term biologically. A normal man can play biology in the morning before subuhi. And he only needs an hour or maybe 2 hours. If at all he gets anything else that brings him back to that business, he will be in need of that. And remember, we have a fact that still stands, that this woman, this lady of yours, is a member of parliament at least every month. And every lady has their own way, their own story when it comes to that. True or false? There are those that spend 3 days. There are those that spend a week. There are those that go for 15, 14, maximum 14 days. I want to take an example of this wife of yours who goes for 14 days. Remember, it is haram for us to play biology with someone who is a member of parliament. Now, your wife happens to be a member of parliament. He's representing his country, her country, for 2 weeks. Now, those 2 weeks, you have some wrangles. So that means there is a possibility of even after those 2 weeks, you may not end up not playing biology because she's upset and you're still having problems, isn't it? So you still have a role to play to make sure in these other 2 weeks that are here, you have to satisfy your own desires, and nothing bores than like planned biology. Planned biology bores, and the biology that doesn't bore is the unplanned one. I don't want to be vulgar, I won't go much in that. But that is it. So Islam respected that fact, and it's like, okay, musajja gwe husband, please don't fornicate. And we don't want to see you abusing your wife because of that fact. We don't want to see you abusing your wife, that your wife, why do you even go in for a week? How did you grow? Go in the medication, blah, blah, blah. No, that's her right. You're actually getting a sin if you get that line. No, don't abuse and disrespect her. Respect her as a wife. If you feel like you're not satisfied, it's okay. Go in for the second or maybe third and fourth. Infertility, at least we've addressed that. Yeah? Interest in many children. Yeah? I've also addressed that. Interest in many children. And remember, Islam guided us that even when you're having your wife, and actually every wife differs. There is this lady, considering her body and whatever medically, and she can't just give more kids like that. And there are these ladies that are also having that capability. Yeah? Okay. Let's address the physical impaired ones. Or maybe the divorcees. Maybe this young innocent girl was tested with a husband who is irresponsible, taina makulu, from A to Z. And now she decides, please, I can't manage my husband slapping me every day. Let us get a divorce. She's still young. And they get a divorce with only one kid like this at 30 years old. The question is, who is a 30-year-old guy here that is ready to marry that one as a first wife? Are you there? We want to interview you to check how do you do that? Do you get the point now? But she still needs to be a wife. You can't close the door for her. She can still be a wife, and a perfect wife for your own information. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you that guidance. We have the less privileged ones. A lady who is having a physical problem. For example, like what problem? A lady who is having 13 fingers. 13? Young man, come here. Anyone there? Just come, I have a question for you. Sheikh Sadiq, come here. For him, as someone who has never married, to take her as a wife, but it takes a mature mind of a guy who is not looking for sexual pleasure alone, but looking for other benefits from this lady. Do you get the point? If I'm married and I'm having my wife, alhamdulillah, at one point, my primary aim is not to satisfy my sexual desires because I have already my wife home. If I feel like having biology, we have some program. So that means if at all that rate is down of satisfying myself sexually, there are some other benefits I might see in this lady. Maybe they are beyond these 15 fingers, and it's only a mature mind can see that, not someone who is getting a first wife. Obwagazi bwe bwonna bwe yakuuma for 25 years abuyiwe kwoyo owa 13 fingers. Do you get the point now? And this is the approach of Islam. And I'm not saying that they can't be as number 1 or number 2 or number 3. That's not my point. But I'm just trying to put it to a normal man's mind to understand that. So I understand polygamy has been branded in a very wrong way. We have very many men here that are normally not doing that justice. You're marrying number 1, number 2, and number 3. Please, marrying more than one wife is for men, not for big men. You can actually be very small, but so long as you're financially able and you're clever and intelligent psychologically, that's the ability. You're going to also practice justice. And Prophet even warned a man, ladies, check out this. It's not for granted. Prophet promised men who are using polygamy in a very bad way to mistreat whoever is under them, practicing unjustness with your wives, like it or not, on the day of judgment, you really have a story to tell, a bad one for your own information. So that alone means that please, even when you take a step to polygamy, put it in mind that you really have to be just, fair, as you're dealing with your 2 wives. So before I even wind up, there is this one misconception when it comes to providing. I want one man here and one lady here. This is what I want. Just one gentleman to come here and one speaker from the ladies to come here. I have questions here. Bani abatata biduduma, you come. Suraq. Who is the sheikh at here? Suraq. Imagine. Should I start with you or her? Ladies first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Imagine you're having 2 wives. The first wife is from where? The first wife is from where? From Masaka. And the second wife is from Mbale. How are you going to? You have 100,000. The second wife is having 2 kids. The first wife is having 0 kids. How are you going to balance?
I have my 100K.
Yeah, 100K.
2 ways.
2 wives. Wife number 1 and wife number 2. Wife number 2 has a kid. Wife number 1 has no kid. You have 100,000. You want to provide to them both. Because Islam, we are like, you really have to be just as you're dealing with them. Please.
70,000 for the other is having a kid, and then the balance is for the other one.
Why?
Because of the kid. The other one is a family, and this one is a sickness.
Okay. Subhanallah. Okay. Sheikhat, as a first wife, what would be your say? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'll bring it direct to what we call equity and equality. The two things are different. When we talk about equality refers to getting the same thing, like me, the first wife, and the second wife. If it is 100K and this husband of ours is having 100K, according to equality, we have to get 50-50, right? But there is what we call equity. The equity part of it is that there is getting according to the available need. The need that the second wife is having, that I'm not having, is having an extra person. Like that is the thing. Of which me, I'm independent. No mtwalo kumala. You understand? Kati mwana kati oli second wife, yeah, but I know what I'm going to say. So I bring it that I'm equity and equality.
Mashallah. The second question, what are you using? Come back. What are you using? The second question. Remember, when you talk of polygamy, there is something to do with time. Yeah? How many days are you going to stay with the number one, and how many days are you going to stay with number two? As a husband of two, how would you divide your time?
Of course, the second one, I have to give her much time.
Why? 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 Have you heard him? Why do you give the second one?
I talk with
her. So the reason as to why you give the second one a lot of time is because ono eyasoka mwaliko naye dda takulina munnyo maddu naye ate ono owookubiri weeri. Okay, as the first wife, what would be your say?
As the first wife still, me being barren.
No. You're not barren.
Yeah.
You're not just having a kid.
I'm not having a kid.
Just. Yeah.
It does not mean that me not having a kid, it has burnt my feelings off. Not enough time just like give it to any other. Just to satisfy myself. I don't have feelings in human.
Okay.
But not equal rights when it comes to my husband.
Okay. One last one, but I'm also new. One last one. Imagine you're a husband of two. You're with your first wife, and your second wife calls an emergency at 3 a.m. and you're at your first home. What would you do?
Of course, I talk with her first, then I go to her. If it is an emergency, I have to go there and see. Because it may be some big problem that may happen. If at all I don't.
But it is her time.
Yes, but this one is there, leave her.
Like what kind of emergency makes you go there?
Maybe she's sick or another thing.
Be more specific. What would be your say as the first?
As the first wife, it's my time. Perhaps it's my time.
It's your time, of course. 2 weeks abadde eri ate kati yeewuuza mbwaliyo emergency.
Imagine that while you carry those emergencies that comes up and indeed but while you parent, this one has been sick, you understand? Munanga right day atali be like perhaps yet ago that's his responsibility. But there is fake emergencies.
Like what? Like what emergencies?
No, like they might wake up with an emergency. I know in polygamy, umanyi abakyala babu. So wongo bakola. Ayinza okufumba okyafumba awo.
Do we have time?
To make sure you understand. So it depends on what kind of emergency. Bw'aginnyonnyola emergency getegereka it's okay.
Naye nga alina oginnyonnyola si kukuviira buviizi.
Bw'aba taginnyonnyodde tafa.
Okay. Barakallahu fikum. Barakallahu fikum. At least I'm going to make my point, but you've already got the points. What I want to address is, let me start with provision. Because many ladies, it's always a complaint of men not being just, naddala mu polygamy. But I think before we come to that judgment, let's remember this. You man, the day you're going to decide to marry the second, that's the day you're going to get to know how hectic a woman can be. By nature. There is nothing like you don't have money after marrying a second. Is it true that after marrying the second, all you get is money? Because if you say to the first lady you don't have money, she will think you're giving the money to the second. And if you tell the same thing to the second, she will think you're giving money to the first. So you have to be ready to deal with that. And you don't blame them for that. That's a fact. Secondly, providing to these ladies, it's more of equity than providing to them equally. Let's take an example of a cloth. Maybe the first lady is a fan of Habaya and what? Latifa Mpayo. Habaya and Sharia. Which is the most expensive? Habaya. So which is the Dera? Good. So maybe your first wife is a Muswahili. And there is this Dela that is just too nice for her. Yakugambira na want it for me on Idide. I want this Dela. It is for 100K. And now this second is preference. Is not Dela. And it's maybe something else that is 120K. The equity is you're going to provide to everyone respectively. It goes beyond money. It goes to you satisfying needs respectively. Is it clear now? The same applies to the necessity. Maybe your first wife is in Imbale and you have 7 kids with her. You have this Mugole of yours, 1 kid or maybe no kid. Do you also want a khutbah for someone to tell you that what they are supposed to put in the first home might be different from what you're receiving? Of course, it's by default, because many people are there and you're also here. But we are tempted to be in cases where the second is now claiming, Ampatia kakadde, no, I've ever been in that case, kakadde 1 million every after 4 weeks. Ampatia kakadde, atenga mchala woli asoka, amwa akadde kamu n'ekitundu. And then you wonder, you don't even have a kid. Naye otali alina abaki? Abaana. That's simple logic. That okay, maybe the necessity is this. And the one fact that is there, you're not allowed to disclose whatever is happening in one of your worlds. Even when the first wife abuses you, you're supposed to smile when you go to the second. You see the level of maturity. It's not for boys. Even when the second wife slaps you, first wife tebimukwatako, you're supposed to smile there love them, cherish them, even in biology, but you've been slapped. Do you understand? Have you realized that it goes beyond the normal ability we now know to something different? When we get to time, am this someone who doesn't believe in stipulating time to every wife primarily? No government, now I'm giving you 1 week and you this one also 1 week. I believe in someone giving out time considering the necessity. Because if you dare say it's a week story, and something happens when you're in your second home, in your second home, you're spending 2 months there, it will definitely mean you have to spend another 2 months there. You don't know what it means spending 2 months there, and you know people that feed from you, that you take good care and guard, protect. Baina jebali, you're spending 2 months without seeing them. For a responsible man, that's headache. Do you get the point now? And that's the guidance of Islam. So of course I understand there are very many stories when it comes to polygamy. Some people are really not utilizing it good. Yeah. People are bewitching others for men. But don't bewitch your other for a man. You don't do that. It's not allowed. You just can't do that. Actually, you have to give assurance to your wife. This is the guidance. It is good, you don't like it. But you have to be very clever. You don't want that life. The least you can do is okumugamba nti musajja gwe nkulaba otagala. Naye nkwegayiridde, wallahi, take time to research about whoever you want to bring. Because maybe wabanga atagalire talina guidance, akuleetera omuntu omulala bw'akulogera akaana kafa akato kalina obwana bwako bubiri. Please, you really have to be vigilant. Those are all factors that make them insecure. Naye bw'omanya nti bonna wasiza bamusilima ate bonna baali wano ati oliko kituufu. Omu tasobola kulowooza kuloga munne nga ate bonna balinamu eddiini. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you ability and the energy. If at all you're able, you go in for polygamy. Because I know, if at all you allow polygamy, our beautiful sisters here are going to enjoy marriage. Mubitiibwa. No one, okay, but just Sheikh Shafiq, what I normally remember, this issue of jealous is just normal when you're dealing with polygamy. You know what happened with the Prophet? Nabi. To some extent, Aisha radiyallahu anha, cause of jealousy, yatuko kugamba Nabi nti, are you really the prophet of people? You. And she was directly pointing to, as a result of jealousy. To one point, Aisha, because she was the youngest, and Prophet used to make mention of Khadija, the late Eyafedda. He was like, my wife Khadija used to do this, my wife Khadija used to do this. And even Prophet at a moment, Aisha was like, Maghirtu. I've never felt jealous about any ladies, wives of the Prophet, Mithla Maghirtu li Khadija. The way I felt jealous for Khadija. She never even saw Khadija. But Prophet had the tendency of, even after Khadija dying, Prophet used to get a goat, slaughter it, to just make it a point to distribute to the friends of the late Khadija. Because she was just 1 in a million. And he even gave out the reasons as to why Khadija was in that position. Prophet was like, this lady, I loved her so much because she is the lady that stood up with me when millions of people are opposing me. Not every lady does that. The same lady is the same lady that used to facilitate the ongoing dawah issues during that time without even at one point abusing the Prophet because of what she's putting in out of her money. Just one okay like this, and that's a game now. And then lastly, Prophet was like, my wife Khadija, she is the lady that made me a father first. So when Aisha was in that position, she went to the Prophet. The jealous was just on point, extreme, apex. And she was like, Khadija, 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 my husband Muhammad. Every time you're mentioning Khadija, it's like you don't even know. لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَبْدَلَهَا بِنَا. You don't even know that maybe Allah replaced Khadija with us, new model. And of course, Prophet got annoyed. He was like, no, it's not like Allah replaced you with Khadija. That's when the Prophet made mention of all those reasons. So that wasn't enough. Aisha matched to Fatima, a daughter to Khadija the late. And then she was like, as a result of jealous, she was like, Fatima, come here. Don't hear your father mentioning about your mother, Khadija, Khadija, Khadija. And now you start to think that you're class above the ordinary. I want you to know, Fatima, that your mother got married to the Prophet when she was a thayyib. Thayyib basically means a lady who was once married and then she got married again. So she wasn't a virgin. So Aisha made it a point that I want you to know, Fatima, that Khadija, your mother, got married to the Prophet. She wasn't a virgin, but Prophet married me and I was a virgin. And of course, that was a very bad factor. Fatima was too down, depressed. She marched to the Prophet. And then Prophet was like, Malladhi yubkiki ya Fatima, why are you shedding tears? Fatima was like, I've just been with Mama Aisha and she has made a point, and it's a true point. She has been like, you married my mother when she wasn't a virgin. And now you married her, she was a virgin. Fatabassama Nabi, listen to the wise man dealing with the jealousy of the wives. Prophet just smiled. And he was like, Faquli laha, my daughter Fatima, it's okay, that's a fact. But please make it a point, go back and tell Aisha this fact. Let her know that it's true. I married her a virgin and I married your mom when she wasn't a virgin. But also remind her that I married your mother Khadija, I was a virgin, and I married her Aisha, I wasn't a virgin. Do you get the point? There you are. Do you get the point? You see? And of course, Fatima had to jump and she had to move. She definitely said it. Reported speech, every sentence, reported speech. Prophet, my dad has told me that it is okay, that is a fact, but it is also another fact for your own information. My father married my mother, he was a virgin. But then he married you when he's not a virgin. Equal, even. That was the day where Aisha stopped demeaning Khadija the late. But did Prophet abuse her? No. Just a psychological deal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us that understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think I've tried to moderately play around with that. When you happen to ever switch to polygamy, it's okay. But please consider being just. Consider the Islamic guidance, because polygamy is not for every male, it's for only men who really know what they are supposed to do, who really know why they are men. The same applies to the sisters. You have a right. If you're not into polygamy, if someone comes and they like you as a second or third, make it a point if you're not a fan of that. Islam is not forcing you to accept. Yeah? You still have a right to call it off, but please make sure as you call it off, you have another option. Because we want you to get married and we want copies out of you. That's the end result. It's better to be someone's wife than being a public property where anyone can get access to you. So it's better to subscribe to someone as a wife. Simanyi lwaki bino ebya first ne second ne third. Je byaki ebyo? Ffe busiramu kasamwenda mubeerawo we mutyo. Equal rights. Omusajja ono alina bwino bayirawo omubiri. First neki ne second. Naye ndowooza olw'okuba these husbands now, your first ladies, babayirawo nnyo omubiri. They even support you financially. They help you. You even promise them that, wallahi, I'm in a masjid, there's a Friday. I love you so much. I love you so much to the level that I will not marry another one. What are you promising? first marry her and then you promise such. That's when you're going to understand that this is a full package. And if someone promises you that, just get to know these are a joking, he's joking. But if he promises you even when you're already in marriage, guma muko na yeye dato guma nyo, yes, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you that ability and that understanding. Allahu alam bisawab.